Alright, so with the recent release of the content update indoors, I got the opportunity to play through the entirety of Floor 2 once again. And after completing this task, a question popped into my head. Why isn't there a greenhouse-like area in the mines? If you recall, for the last 10 rooms of the hotel you must travel through the greenhouse, a very difficult area of the game right before the final boss fight, which tests everything you've learned so far. The mines lack something like this, which is unfortunate because I really like the concept of the greenhouse. So I've come up with my own idea for a greenhouse-like area for the mines, and better yet, in addition to just acting like a final stretch type of area for the floor, it also gives more purpose to figure as well as the clock item, two aspects of the game which are heavily underrepresented in Floor 2. So in this video, I'll be explaining my idea for the Catacombs, the hypothetical greenhouse for the mines, and who knows, maybe inspiration or advice from it could be added to the actual game. So let's begin. Alright, so in case you weren't aware, catacombs, and I'm heavily simplifying here, are essentially just underground graveyards. Given how Floor 2 takes place underground and how Doors is a horror game, I feel like an underground graveyard could be a good location for this floor's greenhouse-like area. Of course, if the mines were to ever receive a greenhouse-like area, it could have a different theme, but this was just the first idea which popped into my head. Moving on though, unlike the greenhouse where you are relentlessly attacked by various different entities, only one, maybe two if you count Screech, would be present here. And that is Figure. You see, I always felt Figure was very underrepresented in the mines, as they only appear in 3 of the areas of the game, all being relatively easy to escape. In fact, the very first time you encounter Figure here, there isn't even a way for them to reach you. They are effectively just a decoration. Now, I completely understand that Figure got to be the star of the show in the hotel, and in the mines they aren't meant to be too important, but I still feel as if more should be done with them in this floor. The catacombs are my way of implementing this into the game. Essentially, the way I think this area should work is like this. Immediately after entering the catacombs, you would notice Figures right there alongside you. However, after traversing through the first maze-like room and reaching the exit whilst not alerting the entity's attention, you'd notice you can't actually leave the room. You see, every single exit door in the catacombs would be barricaded, typically with planks. This means that instead of completely avoiding Figure like we do in every single other interaction with this entity, we actually have to work with them in order to progress. My idea is that in each of these maze-like rooms, you'd have to carefully navigate Figure to the exit door without being caught by him yourself. And once he reaches the exit door, he would punch down the barricade, traveling into the next room and allowing you to follow him in. This means that for the final 10 rooms of the mines, you'd have to use Figure to your advantage. You must utilize their superhuman hearing in order to lead them into the barricaded door without letting them get too close to yourself. This is made even more challenging when considering how the catacombs are built like a maze, so if you lose Figure, you must carefully watch every turn so you don't accidentally run into them. The goal of the catacombs is to be a unique spin on how the entity typically is presented. However, sometimes though, instead of the door being barricaded with planks, it would be barricaded with vines. This means that these types of rooms can be bypassed with shears as well as through the normal method with Figure, which I think could be cool as it gives the shears another functionality. Of course, if shears are used to unlock the door, Figure would immediately rush into the newly accessible room in order to prevent from being stuck in the previous one, which is just a technical feature, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Now, something I would like to mention is if something like this were to be added, it's possible the generator cave where players typically encounter Figure in the second half of the game would be removed. However, seeing as how I think it would be pretty cool to combine the typical puzzles seen in the mines with Figure, like how it is present at the generator cave, I feel as if some rooms in the catacombs could have simple puzzles as well, such as generator puzzles which require only one fuse or something like that. One other thing I would like to mention is that by adding the catacombs, or really anything that involves moving Figure around, the clock item would gain a ton of versatility. If you recall, in the newly released content update, clocks are not only guaranteed to spawn right before Jeff's shop, but they can also rarely be found in loot containers. Currently, I feel the rate at which players can obtain clocks far surpasses their actual functionality in the mines, so this could be a way to balance the item's frequency and functionality, which I think a lot of players could appreciate. Really, if I'm being completely honest, 3 big things I wish were added into the mines were more representation for Figure and the clocks by extension, as well as a greenhouse-like area for the floor to act as that final stretch before the last boss. and the catacombs were my way of hitting all 3 of those birds with just 1 stone. Now, I know, and you should know, that the Doors developers can't really accept fan-made suggestions, especially ones as large as the one I just described. However, I do think inspiration from something like this regarding those 3 birds the Catacombs aims to hit could be implemented into the game, even if they aren't all grouped together in one single thing. Who knows, maybe the figure encounters in the mines could be made a lot more intricate, and the greenhouse-like area could be totally separate. Who knows? I just wanted to get this idea out there as I thought it was pretty cool. So with that being said, let me know in the comments what you think of the Catacombs, and thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.